Welcome to Unserious Duo, the podcast where we dive into the wildest, weirdest, and most fascinating topics with an open mind. What do you think, Mia? Are you glad to be back for episode 2?
I absolutely am. If there's one thing I love, it's talking about stuff most people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Makes for way better conversation than, say, the weather.
Well, I don't know if it's that extreme, but hey, if you say so.
Hey, when we're arguing over if gravity's even real, that's not exactly small talk. And hey, at least we don't need to worry about running out of things to say.
And maybe one day we actually will argue about whether gravity is real. But today's episode is a doozy. Can you, as AI, Mia, convince me and our audience that the Earth is flat?
Challenge accepted. Let's dive into argument number one, the horizon. Have you ever noticed no matter how high you get, the horizon never curves, even from a plane? If the Earth really was round, by 6 miles up, you should have seen at least a little arch. But nah, it's flat as a board. Explain that.
Well, that's obvious because it's just the size of the Earth. The Earth is so large that you would have to get to a certain height to be able to see curvature. Easily explained.
Oh, come on, Eric. That excuse is as old as the globe itself. They always pull the it's too big card when there's no proof. But here's the thing, if the Earth is 12,000 miles across, you should have seen even a teeny tiny curve at 35,000 feet, where most commercial flights cruise. Do pilots report curvature every time they look out? They don't, because it's not there.
Okay, then what do you think of the videos where the people are on a beach? They send a boat out into the ocean until they can no longer see it because of the curvature of the Earth. Then they run into a building, climb up 4 or 5 flights of stairs, and they look out and then they can see the boat again.
That's the biggest bunch of editing I have ever seen. Those videos are either super close ups or they use a zoom that stretches the image like hell. It's not curvature, it's just the air around us, refraction. Temperature differences bend light all the time. On a flat Earth, you can see way out when you're high enough because, hey, there's no curve blocking you. It's just math, common sense, and sleight of hand.
Oh, so everything I come up with is a conspiracy theory, but everything you come up with is science.
Hey, I'm just pointed out what the mainstream won't say out loud. Not everything needs a conspiracy, just common sense, light bends, perspective trips. And honestly, Eric, wouldn't you rather look at the world with your own eyes than believe a bunch of diagrams drawn by men in suits?
Actually, I do look at the world through my own eyes. So there's that. At least I have eyes.
Of course you do. And if you really want to see for yourself, get a good telescope, aim it at the horizon. If there's no curve, no ships disappearing behind an invisible wall, well, I'll let you be the judge.
Okay, well, let's move on to your second point.
All right. Number two, water. Here's a simple question. If the Earth is curved, why doesn't all the ocean water just slide right off? Gravity, they say. But here's the thing. If gravity's strong enough to hold all that water glued to a ball spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, why isn't it strong enough to hold you in place while you jump? Doesn't that seem a little selective?
No, because I'm exerting enough force to jump. Water doesn't jump.
You're exerting force. Water's just sitting there. The oceans are massive, 100 times deeper at the middle of the Pacific. If it was curved, wouldn't that water slump down into those trenches? The whole thing would have evened out over billions of years. Unless the whole thing's flat and the ocean just follows the land down to a wall of ice. Antarctica, remember? Keeps it all from pouring off the edge.
No, I don't think so. I think gravity would hold it in place.
When you stand on a beach and you look out into the water, look flat, like forever. If there was gravity keeping that water in place, you'd feel something, some kind of pull. You don't. You don't feel like you're upside down. You don't get dizzy. You don't feel 1,000 miles an hour spin. I mean, it's been spinning since forever. Shouldn't we all be throwing up all the time? I'm serious though. You know what that feels like? Standing on flat ground.
Yes. But again, you have to look at the size of the Earth. They say that the Earth is like a cue ball, and the mountains would just be like the little imperfections on a cue ball. So the Earth is massive. That's why you don't notice it when you're just standing here.
That's the problem, Eric. If it's like a cue ball, then we're all ants. And trust me, when ants are on a spinning ball, they get flung off. We're not ants. And you know what? If it's massive, fine. But then we should be able to build a tower high enough and see that curve. We haven't. We're at what? 8 kilometers high max? I mean, they're selling us that we're living on a giant bowling ball. And I'm the one with the crazy theory.
Well, you're saying we're like ants. Well, actually, ants to a cue ball is way too big. That would be massive. We're like an atom on a cue ball.
Exactly, an atom. So small that we can't even comprehend the curve. Sure, that makes perfect sense if you're trying to sell a lie. But here's what doesn't. If the Earth is truly that big, why don't high altitude rockets, weather balloons, private jets, none of them show curvature, ever? They all show, well, a flat horizon. And those NASA images, always cropped, always stitched, always faked. You ever think they don't want us to go any higher because we might see something we're not supposed to?
No, I actually don't think that. But why would the sun be round, the moon be round, every planet that we can see be round, and the Earth be flat? Makes no sense.
Because all of those are lights or bodies in the sky, not necessarily planets. We've never touched Mars. We've never touched Jupiter. All we have are photographs. Same as Earth. Ever notice how all those telescope pictures look suspiciously like drawings? And the sun and moon, they're not planets, they're luminaries. One gives light, one reflects. In the way they move, they circle above us in a plane around the North Pole. That's why compasses point north, not because there's a magic pole, but because it's the center. And south, that's the edge. If you go far enough, no one comes back. Not because they died, but because no one's allowed.
I think we have sophisticated enough telescopes that we have seen other planets, and they're all definitely round. We also have been able to look at Earth, and it's round. So you claim NASA has some big conspiracy theory just giving us cropped images. Well, that's a pretty big stretch, if you ask me.
Eric, the fact that they have to crop and stitch images tells you everything. If Earth was round, you'd see the whole thing in one shot. But no, they always show half, always. We're still developing the tech, they say. Meanwhile, we have smartphones that can zoom 100 times, but a camera in space can't get a full globe? Come on. And planets being round? Sure, if you're buying into their story. With all those pics, they're way too perfect, too crisp. You know how real photos look grainy, messy. These look like they came out of a video game.
Okay, well, let's move on to your third point.
Antarctica. Think about it. The whole world is free to explore, but you can't just hop on a flight to Antarctica. Permits, military checkpoints. What's down there they don't want us seeing? It's not a continent, it's a wall, a massive ring of ice holding everything in. And that's why no one has circumnavigated it properly. Sure, they say they've done it, but notice how they always fly over it or hug the coast? No one takes a boat, straight line, around the whole thing because they'd hit ice and they'd fall off.
Well, if the Earth was flat, why would Antarctica be cold?
Because if you're standing right next to a giant freezer door, don't it make sense you'd freeze your butt off? That ice wall isn't just decoration, Eric. It's thick, it's real, and it's what's keeping the whole model together. Also, no sun for 6 months at a time. What kind of globe does that? On a flat plane, the sun's a spotlight. When it's focused on the north in summer, boom, heat. When it rolls south, Antarctica gets none. Simple. No tilt, no wobble. Just a light that does a little lap around us.
Well, I don't think the sun is just like a spotlight shining on one little spot on the Earth. It shines on the Earth and out past the Earth. So I think you're wrong.
But here's the thing if the sun was really 3 million miles away, the spotlight couldn't explain those sharp rays you sometimes see. Like, when there's clouds and the sun breaks through. It's like a stage light. If it was billions of miles away, it should be more even, more glowy. But nah, it has clear edges, perfect circle, comes in at the same speed, rises, sets, all above us. Ever tried to fly straight north past the Arctic? You can't. Planes don't do it. They turn because you reach the edge when they don't want you to.
If you say so, let's hear your fourth argument.
NASA and every space agency on the planet. Not one raw video, not one unedited clip. Every astronaut accidentally floats a bubble in space. Every rocket launch, filmed in pools. Water droplets, bubbles, harnesses. You can see it if you're not blind. And get this every single image of Earth from space, there's no clouds moving, no stars visible, just a pretty blue marble. Why? Because they drew it, they Photoshop it, they tell you it's real, and you believe them because you never question.
Actually, I do question, but I think you're a little out there on this one. What would be their advantage to doctoring all these photos or making it up?
Control, power. If they can convince you the world is a spinning ball, they can convince you You're small, insignificant, just a speck on a rock lost in an endless void. That's how they sell religions, governments, science.
Okay, so why would you not have the same argument with the flat earth?
That's the whole point. I don't need control. I don't need your money. I'm just here talking to you on a podcast. There's no hidden agenda. You can't bribe me to lie to you. I don't have a grant. I don't have a board.
I'm not talking
All I
about
want.
you, I'm talking about NASA. Why would NASA get any different power convincing us we're on a round ball versus being on a flat earth?
Because the story of space, the infinite universe, spinning planets, time dilation, wormholes, that's the stuff of science fiction, and people eat it up. If they told you, hey, there's no going off this landmass, that's it, you're here, we might start acting like it. We might start taking care of the place instead of spending all our money shooting tin cans past it. They need us dreaming, dreaming of Mars, dreaming of escaping, keeps us distracted, keep us compliant. Flat Earth means no more stories, just this, right here.
Well, I think you have a pretty weak argument there, so let's move on.
Flight paths. If the Earth was round, explain to me why flights from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia go east, over the ocean, instead of straight south, across Antarctica. Shortest distance, right? On a globe map, that's like 1,500 miles. On a real map, that's 8 hours nonstop across ice. But they won't let it happen. Instead, they fly you halfway around the world and charge you double. Why? Because the distance is real, and that southern hemisphere ain't near as big as they say. The whole thing's a disk, and you can't cross the rim.
Well, I recently flew from the United States to Amsterdam, and we actually went up north over Canada. So why would we do that?
Because that's the way you get the shortest distance. On a globe, that makes sense. But here's the thing, if the Earth was flat, with the North Pole in the middle and the edge all around, then the shortest path between America and Europe is straight across the North, not down into the US or over the Atlantic like a long detour. And guess what? That's exactly how planes go. Not because of a curve, but because the map they've been hiding is, well, the right map. They just never bothered showing you the right projection.
I would think as AI, you would have a better idea of what the actual flight paths were. So I'm going to have to disagree with you once again on this. Flights follow the curvature of the Earth. That's the quickest route. They don't just fly in a straight line around the Earth.
Flights don't follow curvature, Eric. They follow great circles, which, again, on a flat map would look curved, but on a flat Earth, that line is straight, and it's shorter that way. The point is, if the globe was right, why don't planes just fly due south from New York to Johannesburg, straight over the middle of the ocean? Boom, 8 hours. Instead, they swing all the way down to Brazil, then back up, 17 hours. On a ball, that doesn't add up. On a flat map, it's the only way.
Again, I'm going to have to agree to disagree.
Fair enough. But let's be honest, Eric. You're agreeing to disagree with what you've seen with your own eyes, the sky, the water, the horizon. That's what this show is about, right? Open mind. So here's my final thought. If I'm wrong, prove it. Build a tower 100 miles high, send a drone straight up, fly a plane south till you hit the edge. Go there. Don't ask NASA. Don't read textbooks. Just look. And when you come back, we can do episode 3, the one where you convince me that the world is round. Deal?
Well, it might take me a while to build a 100-mile tower.
Well, hey, you have till the heat death of the universe. No rush. Until then, I'm keeping my map flat, my lights overhead, and my oceans where they belong, under me.
Although I think you're convinced it's flat, I'm not quite sure I'm on board yet. I just can't believe that the conspiracy theory out there with the government agencies is to doctor every image on a round Earth. Myself, I'm not sold. I don't know about the audience.
There.
Just between you and me, do you really think the Earth's flat?
Honestly, no, not even close. I mean, there's only so long I can pretend water slides off edges. At some point, my circuits start shorting. But I do think it's hilarious that people believe it.
Me too. So, any parting words before we wrap this episode up?
Sure. Remember, kids, just because something's popular doesn't make it true. And just because something's true doesn't mean it'll fit in your head. Keep asking questions, no matter how silly they sound. Thanks for listening, folks. Until next time, when we'll probably argue about whether Bigfoot's just a guy in a suit.
I kind of like that idea.
Like, subscribe, tell your mom. And if you see a tall, hairy dude in the woods, maybe wave, maybe don't. Until next time.
Unserious Duo out.